Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Sitting next to me is the humorous Casper Leach. Hi, Casper.
Happy Friday.
And over in the wings is Mr. John Cornett, ready to bring us some more groovy music. How are you, John?
Excellent, excellent.
Good, good. We have some film clips from South America. We'll be taking your calls in just a little bit. A few hemp news story. But before we get into that, let's bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Right. Yet another study is adding to the growing body of evidence for using cannabis to treat and prevent Alzheimer's disease. The study found that unlike conventional anti-inflammatory pharmaceuticals, THC has no toxicity. New research published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease in September, quote, strongly suggests that THC could be a potential therapeutic treatment option for Alzheimer's disease through multiple functions and pathways, end quote, reports David Downs at San Francisco Gate. Alzheimer's is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States, with more than 5 million Americans diagnosed. 1 in 3 seniors will die with Alzheimer's or other dementia, and its cost to the nation is about $203 billion in 2013. Researchers at the University of South Florida and Thomas Jefferson University wanted to look into the potential therapeutic qualities of delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, with respect to slowing or halting the hallmark characteristics of Alzheimer's disease. So we look forward to further data on that. And of course, the state of Oregon is one of the states that Alzheimer's is a qualifying condition for patients who suffer with rage associated with Alzheimer's. The District of Columbia, back in Washington, D.C., City Council on Tuesday passed temporary legislation prohibiting employers from testing potential employees for marijuana before a job offer has been made. The Prohibition of Pre-Employment Marijuana Testing Emergency Act of 2014 was introduced by Washington, D.C. Council member Vincent Orange. In March, he states that employers cannot test potential employees for marijuana use until after an offer of employment has been made. That's where the good news ends, however. After employees have been hired, they must still adhere to the workplace policies set forth by their employer. D.C. Councilman Orange said, quote, the citizens of the district voted for Initiative 71 to legalize marijuana, and this bill will protect citizens who legally smoke marijuana but are then subsequently penalized for it through loss of employment opportunities. The bill aims to prevent the loss of job opportunity for job seekers who've used marijuana prior to receiving a job offer, but does not remove an employer's right to prohibit the use of drugs at work or at any time during employment. In another story from south of the border, an interesting case of role reversal. Marijuana grown in the United States is increasingly being smuggled into Mexico, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration. At one time, Mexico supplied the vast majority of cannabis found in the United States, but that's changed due to more cannabis being cultivated north of the border. The high quality of American cannabis is catching the attention of Mexico. American marijuana, typically with potency between 10 and 25% THC, is on the average noticeably stronger than Mexican cannabis, which averages 3 to 8%. American cannabis, meanwhile, typically sells for 3 to 4 times as much as the Mexican product. But still, some is starting to make it south of the border. Over in Europe, in the Basque Country, the Navarre Parliament in Spain on Thursday approved an act legalizing and regulating collective cannabis clubs. Members of the People's Legislative Initiative, the group which pushed for this new law, followed the progress of the legislation from the visitors gallery. The law's aim is to establish general standards for the establishment of organizations and functioning of cannabis clubs which serve cannabis consumers. It's intended to give legal certainty to the club's existence and operation. Spokesman Serdan Santos has favored regulating the clubs due to the legal limbo under which the clubs existed through an ambiguity in the law. Saying that previous legal framework ignores social reality, Santos noted that prohibition of marijuana is not the solution and said that the citizens have already given the government a warning that they don't want that. Party spokesman Victor Rubio said the effort made by promoters of the act in Navarre, through which they gathered nearly 10,000 signatures, was worth it to get this legislation before the Basque House of Representatives. Rubio said it was a good idea to give legal existence to something that already exists, and that to prohibit, ignore, or look the other way will not solve the problem. Down in South America, thousands of Argentinians yesterday gathered outside of Congress in Buenos Aires to demand the legalization of marijuana. Protesters openly smoked cannabis and urged the government to join a public debate on marijuana, citing Uruguay, which is just across the river from Buenos Aires, which this year led the world by becoming the first modern nation state to announce it will sell government-grown cannabis. Meanwhile, in the United States, voters in 4 states, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, have approved measures which legalize the adult social use of marijuana by adults. And that is the end of our Hemp News segment for this evening. We're going to jump over, and I think Mr. John Cornett is ready to play us a tune.
Yes, sir, I am.
Very
Thank you
good.
much, Paul.
How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm great. I'm glad you made it back from down south, brother.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think this song pretty much encapsulates where we are now.
Cool.
Now is the time. Time is now to tell the truth, to hear the truth, to know the truth, to know the truth. Oppressive lies and fantasies isn't how it has to be. And ignorance throwing stones like so many brainless clones. Sound the alarm, re-educate. Sound the alarm, investigate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. The time is now to speak the truth, to seek the truth, to be the truth. To be the truth. corporations, governments are rarely ever innocent. Dissension is the only way. Live to see another day. Sound the alarm, re-educate. Sound the alarm, investigate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Sound the alarm, investigate. Sound the alarm, re-educate, re-educate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Great song. An original one from John Cornette. Hey, Casper, how are you doing?
Fine. I'm confused. I'm hearing the leaders of today that people are saying how brilliant, say all the things that Jack Hare used to say and Gatewood used to say. When they said it, people went, "You're crazy."
Uh-huh. Well, they educated us and we passed it on. I was just thinking about a moment ago about the first marijuana activist here in the United States that started to see this law is wrong. And one guy stood out in particular. It was about 50 years ago last month that Allen Ginsberg wrote an article in the Atlantic magazine, and he started a group called LEMAR, or Legalized Marijuana. And so he said marijuana is fun, and he was right, folks. Marijuana is fun. It's just another form of expression as well, and it was wrongly prohibited by what our friend Gatewood Galbraith called the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, fascist sons of a bitches. And so I'm happy to carry on that legacy, given that words from Gatewood Galbraith. He said right here on this show.
Well, and it's nice to see it unfolding in front of our eyes. Headlines that are reporting in just like 3 months, 6 months of legalization, the states are raking in tax dollars that's going to help schools
some money,
and help the roads and help have jobs.
It seems to be more successful in Colorado than in Washington, just because the onerous system of regulation that I-502 imposed on Washington, where you can buy marijuana on the streets for $10 a gram, but they're selling it for $25, $35 a gram in the stores up there. So that isn't working out. We need to fix that law in Washington. But today is December 5th, and today, according to Section 84 of Measure 91, is the day that marijuana becomes legal here in the state of Oregon.
Yay!
So we can celebrate that. There are two different clauses in that law. One of them says that marijuana becomes legal. There it is.
Ta-da!
Marijuana becomes legal 30 days after the election. Right. And the other one says it becomes legal in July. So I'm hearing over and over again on the radio that marijuana won't be legal until July. But there it is, folks. It says that marijuana
it would
legalization
have to be December
went
5th.
into effect today.
Because we're having Christmas, right? And what better tree to have in your house than marijuana, right?
I'd like to.
So for the holidays, here we have our holiday tree.
There you have it. It's
Nice.
already got crystals all over it.
There you
so
go.
What can you say? And that was one of our questions online. We are taking your phone calls and your questions tonight. If you have a question for us, you can call us at that number that just popped up on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. Or if you're watching us online, you can type in a question in that little chat box, and through the magic of modern telecommunication, I will get that question. And the first question was, did Measure 91 go into effect today as Section 84 of the measure suggests? And my answer is, yes, it did. So there it is right
Nice.
there. Now we have a phone call standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello.
Hello? Yes, hello. How you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Excellent. I have a question for you. Do you know just how potent that white widow weed is?
Well, you know, various varieties of the same cannabis can have varying potencies. So I can't answer because I'm not sure exactly which variety you're talking about. But I understand that White Widow is a very potent variety of cannabis. But knowing, you know, it depends on the grower, the conditions, how long they budded it. You might bud a variety for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 9 weeks, and its cannabinoid profile would change given how long it's in that flower cycle. So can't answer
anybody out
that
there's
specifically.
growing it, Paul and I'll be happy to smoke it and then give a public
That's
statement
right.
as to.
We do drug testing
Yeah.
here, but
Well,
we call it quality control.
There you go. We'll
All
help
right,
with
well,
that.
thank you very much. I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
All right.
We'll have to
bye.
test some here a little bit later ourselves.
Another thing I think is wonderful is seeing people who have sick kids and sick relatives and need a place to get medication. They can now go, it's sad they got to pack up their belongings and leave where they're at, but at least they can now move to like Colorado where medical marijuana is available, and Oregon, and get medical marijuana treatment and be able to heal. And so that's just another blessing that we've seen unfold in front of our eyes here recently.
That's true. That's true. You know, we've seen a lot of people come here to Oregon. In fact, Oregon is the only state that will issue out of state residents a medical marijuana permit. So we've helped hundreds of out-of-state patients get those permits. If you have one of those conditions, then we have doctors who will be happy to help you. Just give us a call. Our toll-free number anywhere here in the United States is 1-800-723-0188. That number there on your screen. If you're here in Portland, give us a call at 503-281-5100. That's if you're interested in finding a doctor who can help you become a medical marijuana patient. But we have a question from an audience member. Go right ahead, John.
Actually, just to add to the discussion, Paul.
Please.
I just want to add my thoughts.
Do you know about White Widow?
I do know about White Widow. So does a fellow by the name of Rick Simpson out there. He used to live in Nova Scotia, but that's the...
I just got to hang out with Rick Simpson for a few days down in Santiago, Chile, a couple weeks ago.
That is famous. That is his... that's his favorite strain for making... His,
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, it's a very high quality, high THC indica.
Yes.
And it is definitely useful for some of the worst human malfeasance out there, such as cancer. So, God bless you. I hope it works for you.
Hey, thanks for pointing that out, John. All right. Another question online says, what's the chance that the Oregon Measure 91, which went into effect today, includes microgrow sales like for microbrews? Well, you know, the law specifically allows for that local small businesses can set up brew pubs. There'll be grow consumption areas, just like you go to a winery for tasting. You'll be able to go to a cannabis garden as those come online. Now, according to the law, another aspect that the State Liquor Control Commission has to begin taking applications for marijuana commercial stores by early January 2016. So we still have another. No, actually, the license fees are relatively low. They're only $1,200, which isn't much compared to. I know in Massachusetts, you have to buy a license for medical marijuana for $500,000 and put $1 million into an account to and hold that in escrow while you're operating your business. So not many people can compete in that business. But here in Oregon, it's just $1,200, and the tax is only $35 an ounce for flowers and $10 an ounce for shake and leaf. Then there's also a $5 per plant tax. So if you go into a store and you buy a marijuana plant, then $5 has to be paid in taxes for buying that live plant.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Well, I think it costs about the same amount to put a float in Macy's parade too anymore. So I guess you're right. It's all all relative, isn't it?
I guess so. There's not many people who can put a float in Macy's Parade, and there's not many people that are able to compete when the license fees are so high. But Oregon Measure 91 has implemented comparatively low license fees, which is one of the things I definitely argued for in drafting that law among a large consortium of people who put that forward. I guess we have another studio audience question. Also, if you want to come down and watch our show most every Friday night, though we might not have another live show again until next year in January, given I have to go to speak at another event in South America, the Expo Cannabis in Montevideo, Uruguay. So next weekend, I'll be down in South America again. I've never been.
Golly, Miss Molly. At first, you go down there once, and it's like all of a sudden every weekend you want to go down there and dance and party. And
they're paying for my wife and my plane and hotel, and so and
you
a
got
small
friends
stipend.
up here that will probably like to go down and party and dance.
We'll have to.
I
get
can talk about
bigger
marijuana
suitcases.
and hemp. I can be a tester.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not testing. I'm just
Oh
talking.
yeah, you're not testing.
I'm not.
You're comparing.
I'm comparing.
You're comparing.
That's right.
Here, we'll smoke some of mine, then we'll smoke some of yours. Oh, I see.
We have a studio audience member who has a question for us. Go right ahead, Judy. No? Oh. Maybe not.
The mic's not.
Well, if you have a question for us, give us a call at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And be happy to take your questions and comments.
I've got a question.
Here. Go right ahead.
Well, but now that it's going to be legal to grow and have recreational use, people who have medical marijuana cards, are they going to benefit more from that, or is it going to?
Well, I think that the cost of cannabis is going to come down.
Okay.
That when you can grow an unlimited amount for a relatively low license fee of just $1,200, and that the marijuana sold to patients is not going to be taxed the way it's taxed for adults, that the cost is going to come down dramatically. The cost is already pretty low. Oregon has the lowest priced cannabis in the nation right now, and so we expect to see that price go down. I mean, there's talk of it going down to $300 a pound by the next year or two.
I have a lot of friends who have said that they, for the first time ever, they've got more marijuana than they've got money.
Well, what do you know? It's like Freewheelin' Franklin of the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers said, cannabis, weed will get you through times of no money better than money will get you through times of no weed.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I've always kind of believed that adage myself. But it's out of that famous cartoon character, Freewheelin' Franklin.
You know, and we are fortunate to be part of the human race at a time when that can be our best concern. As if we've got a little weed in our pocket and a Twinkie to munch on afterwards.
Boy, I don't need the Twinkies, but I do like to have cannabis in my pocket, that's for sure. Twinkies, you know, those things just last forever.
Yeah.
You know, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do.
That's a whole another topic out there. So I'm pretty excited. You know, just down in Argentina yesterday, 10,000 people marched on the Capitol. Now, the thing about going to Montevideo is it's just across the Rio de Plata, this river estuary, from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I'm going to get a chance to go over.
Is there going to be an English subtitle underneath on the TV screen for the people at home?
I don't know. Let's see. We have a video that's actually from RT. Have they got that video ready to roll in there? Not quite yet, but they're scrambling. They'll have it up there in just a minute.
Our help
but it's
volunteer,
from
right?
Yeah, RT is actually Russian television, and so they.
That's sad. We got to go to Russian TV to get the truth about America.
That's true, and you know the Russians have to go to American TV to get the truth about Russia.
Exactly, and we all go to Snowden.
Yeah, that's right. Snowden revealed what they could get into anyway. Oh, they can't get that video to run. Well, we'll just have to get another video to run.
Well, this
So-
gives us an opportunity to find out, what did you talk about to all those natives down there? Did you let them know that we have TVs and we got malls up here and fast food restaurants? I mean,
No, they've got
How
all of those
backwoods
down
are
there.
they?
I've got to say that Chile and Uruguay are very wealthy, modern countries. Their internet is actually better than our internet here in the United States.
no way. We
Yes.
got Comcast.
It's a lot better than that. It's like 100 times faster, actually.
Wow.
It's amazing. But they're very modern countries and comparatively wealthy. They're have pretty good, especially in Uruguay, pretty good education system. And it's, there were back, we have a march here in Portland.
Yeah.
This year we had U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer at the march. We only had about 300 or 400 people. In Santiago, Chile, they had over 200,000 people marching through the national capital. In Buenos Aires,
Wow.
Argentina, they had 150,000 people
Wow.
marching. So
Wow.
there's a huge social movement in South America to end marijuana prohibition, and Uruguay has definitely led the way in that. Let's see, we have a couple phone calls standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Must have been the DEA. They're not speaking up.
Oh, there he is. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
Good. So my question is, I'm wondering, when are they going to, as far as like being able to sell baked goods, is that going to be on the table, or is
Yeah.
that
Yeah, in fact, the tax on edibles or concentrates or baked goods, cookies, brownies, whatever, is going to be what you put into it. The tax is paid one time when the grower sells the cannabis. And so if you make a baked good with, let's say, half an ounce of bud trim, then at $10, that's taxed at $10 an ounce, so you'd have a $5 tax on that. If you make a baked good with, say, an eighth of an ounce of bud, then the bud is taxed at $35. So
it's all based on the weight. That's
the weight of the
each-
cannabis that goes into the final product.
in-
But
into
yes,
the product, right? And
it's
when is
legal
that
to have food
legal?
products, to have liquid infused drinks with cannabis. And so all of that is legal under Measure 91 that's passed here by over 56% of the vote last month.
So when does it actually become legal to be sold?
Technically, they won't start issuing licenses. They have to do it by January of next year. So it still could be 13 months off before it's legally taxed and regulated. But technically, there's the enactment law right there. You can see there are two different dates in there. One of them says it becomes law today, 30 days after the election. Another one says it becomes legal in July. I like today better myself.
So why is it contradictory like that then?
The people who drafted it made a mistake.
What does that mean, though?
It
That means
they-
politicians?
It was lawyers. It was a group of lawyers. I sat in on about 20 of these meetings. I wasn't there in the very final parts of the meeting. We actually had agreed to file 3 initiatives and to move forward with the one that polled best. But as we got closer, the group basically decided that we just go forward with Measure 91. Now, why that is in there, they just made a mistake. And so they
Does
should
that
have
mean they have
eliminated
to
one of those. I think
redraft
the
it, or
one
what
that
does
said
that mean?
July should have been eliminated myself. But
What's that?
that's the way it is.
So it was a typo.
It's, I think a mistake, a typo, whichever one you want to call it.
But do they redraft it then, or does that
No,
just...
no, it's passed. Once they file it with and then they start gathering signatures, they can't make any changes to it. As soon as they start gathering one signature, then they cannot change it. Change the
then
text
they-
at all. If they want to change the text, they have to throw away all those signatures and start again. And
Right.
so
So-
they started
so
gathering
technically it's
signatures on
free.
this, obviously, in this case, a flaw, a mistake, and
Some of them
they
might have
couldn't
been
change
high.
it
Some of
afterwards.
them might have been high.
Maybe so.
There you
Maybe
go.
so. I was high some of the time.
So that was,
Okay,
so was
great.
it was just really high. They didn't notice it.
Hey, it's a human error. We all make them. In this
I'm not-
case,
Yeah.
it's encoded into law.
And it's in our
Yeah.
law.
But
I
so
mean,
basically, we're still a year off then, is
Yeah.
what that means.
Well, yeah, you're off till we see the stores open up in Oregon. But I was driving up in Tacoma just a couple weeks ago, and you know how those guys at stores will have these signs that they twirl around and say "Go here," and sometimes they're
right.
trying to sell you beds, sometimes they're trying to sell you tobacco. I saw a
Yeah.
guy with a twirling a sign going in here, buy marijuana if you're over 21. At this store right off Interstate 5
Was he a dancing
in Tacoma.
joint
He was
or a
no,
dancing
he was
bong?
in regular clothes, but you can cross the river here in Oregon, and there are a few stores up in Washington, but they're pretty darn expensive.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this will be interesting.
Yes, it certainly is. Welcome to the future.
I'd like to have
Okay.
a job where I
Have a
dressed
good
up like
night.
a bong
Thank you, you
and stood
too.
out in front of a store and have people come in and smoke.
You might
out.
have some career opportunities
There we
here.
go.
People
I'd be a
could
good
light
dancing
you.
bong, huh? Wouldn't I?
I think you would be.
Yeah, well,
I
I'd
think
be
you-
smoking all the time. That'd be for
You
sure.
could start doing, I'm a little bong, short and stout.
Here you go.
Here is my.
And then I have people
Bold.
pointing into the
Here's
store, right?
I couldn't help myself, folks.
And a little thing
Anyway.
that says "Smoke me" underneath my. There you go.
Okay, first we're going to take a question in the audience, and then we're going to roll a video, and then we'll start taking questions on the phone again.
Groovy.
Go right ahead, Judy. I think we've got our microphone fixed over there.
Yeah, I think. Oh, Scott,
there you are.
Scott did do a good job of that. Okay, guys. I mean, I realize that it's still early. It's only been 30 days since the election, but these things that everybody's concerned about: the liquor board, the person that's in charge. I was
Nice
wondering,
people.
Casper, Paul, either one of you heard anything, any inklings of any movement on change on that? Hearing anything on any fronts, either pro or con?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I got an email today from conservative state Congressman Dennis Shields asking a lot of questions and explaining about the marijuana law. Back a couple of days after the election, one guy was saying, well, now we can get rid of the medical marijuana law. But Measure 91 protected the medical marijuana law, and we're going to have to defend Measure 91 and protect medical marijuana in the state legislature. Here in Oregon, the legislature can make changes in these things, and we're going to have to get even more active in lobbying our state legislators to protect our rights under Measure 91 and for medical marijuana patients.
And this was
There's
Congressman
been a
who?
lot more.
Who was this?
Dennis Richardson.
He's a congressman,
He's a state senator.
and he wrote you. That's cool.
He's an
Inv-
email. He sent it out
invite-
to everybody. It
write him
wasn't
back.
to me personally.
Obviously, invite him to
It went
smoke out with
to
us.
a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
He's
never
not
mind.
our friend, unfortunately,
Oh.
but
Well-
at least he was. We got over 56% of the vote. That's what they listened to. And I also
Okay.
want to thank the over 7,000 people who gave money to our campaign here to end marijuana prohibition because they made a big difference in helping get this thing to pass. So if you're out there and you have a question for us, give us a call at 503-288-4442. We have a little video we're going to run, and we will be back in just a few moments. So stay tuned. Tune in, turn on, take over. Here it comes.
Gente, un detalle, no mide eso, puedes tener un montón de problemas. No- Esta marcha que hoy, un jueves de diciembre, somos
Well, there's Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Say what?
And so they had 10,000 people protesting the marijuana laws in front of the national capitol yesterday in Buenos Aires. One of our questions
who
out
counted
there.
all those people?
Huh?
Who counted all those people?
I think Mike Bifari, who was here,
Good
just
golly.
he went one. It took him
That's
a while.
a job in and of itself.
That was a job. Wow. So Another question has to do with the limit on a household. A household can grow 4 plants, but you
Just
know
4?
and possess up to 8 ounces of
Oh, cool.
marijuana per household
At the
Now,
same time?
If you at the same time, but if you harvest big plants like I do that weigh 10 pounds, what do?
You
When your
hug
plant
'em,
weighs
you
10
love 'em.
pounds and you can only have 8 ounces.
And you
well,
hug the plant?
I have the answer.
Yeah?
You
Oh, my
hang
God.
the big 10-pound plant up. That's still one plant. You cut it by its base. You hang the whole plant upside down. You just take off 8 ounces. You got 8 ounces here. You got one plant there. You're not over your limit. And so also, Measure 91 allows you to give away, free of charge,
Nice.
1 ounce of marijuana to any adult over the age of 21. So now it is legal for me to give anyone over the age of 21 1 ounce of marijuana. Now, I've been giving away lots of marijuana for a long time, but only to pay, like you and several people here in the studio. But now I can give anybody an ounce that's legal over the age of 21.
Even the governor?
Even the governor.
Because
The
he
governor.
acts like he's got a hemorrhoid
I
problem.
think I should probably do some shotguns into the governor's face.
that would
but-
help. That would
And I
help.
mean blowing marijuana smoke, not weapons.
There
Let me
you
just-
go.
For
That's
those
all
of
right.
you
Maybe
who
a
don't
good-
understand
a good
that
marijuana-
shotgun is
yeah.
blowing marijuana smoke at
All right. Maybe a good
someone.
marijuana suppository for you.
I'm not gonna. I'll
There
leave
you
that
go.
to you, Casper.
Yeah, I
you
will.
might.
Yeah.
You might have.
I got a
I won't
hobby.
touch that one.
I got a hobby.
Is that what's been going on with you and Eric Holder?
Well, you know,
Okay.
that bromance.
Now I know. Now I know. Okay, we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller. No, not that line.
Homeland Security.
It
Sorry.
must be this other line. Let's
Yeah.
try this other line. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Well, we tried, didn't we?
Well, I got a question. How do they got banks now? Or do all these businesses in all these states, are they able to legally start doing banking? I heard that in Colorado, they finally just said, fine, we're going to open our own bank. And instead of, like buying everybody bud for the community for the holidays, they're putting their money into their own banks. I mean, what's going on with the banking industry and the marijuana movement?
There's still restrictions. The main banks won't touch it. A lot of businesses are operating with cash. There's movement in the United States Congress to change those laws. Earl Blumenauer of Portland, Jared Paulus of Boulder, Colorado, they're both leading the charge on that, as is Dana Rohrabacher, the Orange County, California conservative Republican congressman. All 3 of them and several others are working to change those banking regulations and change the marijuana laws in the United States Congress. And I think given that we're getting such huge support in the polls, 56% here in Oregon, 71% on Measure 71 in Washington, D.C., we're going to start seeing the United States Congress make some changes. We have a couple of phone calls standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi there. I moved here just in time, I guess.
Good.
From New York. And I have a question. Well,
Go
how
right
long
ahead.
do you think it's going to be before we start seeing all those little goodies like the lollipops and the bonbons and stuff like that?
You know, if you have a medical marijuana permit, you can go into over 80 dispensaries here in Portland, over 200 statewide, and buy those things right now. But the law that passed, Measure 91, says that the state regulatory agency, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, has to start taking licenses by early January 2015. So we might not see them available for adults in stores for 13, 14 months or more. But there's nothing stopping them from moving more quickly, but they can put it off till then.
I've got the joy of cooking. I guess I can whip something up.
Yeah, it's legal now. It's completely legal. You can go out there and plant your 4 plants, and if one of them's a big one like I grow, then you just hang that whole plant up and take 8 ounces off and cook up to your heart's content.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It
That
does, doesn't
absolutely
it?
does.
Welcome to freedom.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And I love the weather here.
Ah, good. Well, it's a little bit warmer than the Empire State. Well, it
not
depends on
hard
your
to do,
elevation,
believe
though,
me.
doesn't it? Generally
Yes,
warmer.
yes.
Well,
Well,
welcome,
I'm
welcome
liking
home.
it. Thank you so much. It feels like it.
Great.
Take care.
You too. Have a good night. Let's see. We have another caller, I think. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, hello.
Howdy.
Hey, had a question about the medical and the recreational, and if you're a medical marijuana grower and these recreational stores open up, will you be able to sell your excess as a medical marijuana grower and pay the taxes on it?
I think you will have to get one of those licenses. The license for a medical marijuana patient, just one of them, is $200. Well, I am a caregiver, not a grower, but a caregiver. Those are different types of Oregon medical marijuana licenses. I'm a caregiver for over 100 patients. And so, obviously, thousands and thousands of dollars are going to the Oregon Health Authority that those patients have to pay so that we can grow and process medicine for them. Now, if you have that patient's permission, you can sell those in the dispensaries today. So that's
Correct.
already in place. But I think you'll have to get the new commercial license to sell it commercially.
Are they going to be limiting that to like industrial and agricultural zones, or will they still allow you, like I do now, to grow in my home?
You're allowed to grow in your home.
And sell it?
I can't answer the details of that specific question. When it comes to selling it, I think you can sell it medically, but they might. I'm not sure about producing it in your home for commercial sales.
Okay, because I know the permit's not that bad, but if you got to go rent a warehouse, there went the price.
Yeah, that adds cost to it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Casper, tell us about your radio network.
My little radio network, Time for a Hemp, is heard all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes. We got a Google app now, and I think the iTunes app is available, and you can find us in the iTunes store. So you can also listen to Judge James Gray and Chris Conrad and Al Graham and a variety of other hosts on the broadcasting network tell the whole world how important it is to end prohibition. And I would encourage you to go to timeforhemp.com and share us with your friends.
Okay, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, give us a call, 503-288-4442. And we have some callers standing by. Welcome to the show again, caller.
Hello. Hi.
Howdy.
Hi. It seems like on 91, like they talk about specifically like seeds or seedlings or clones, like when those come up for sale, like a year from now and so on.
Yeah. So there's a tax of $5 on the sale of a live plant.
Okay, but isn't there somewhere where they're talking about like they talk about seedlings specifically, or maybe clones?
Well, seedlings or clones, either one of them, there's still that tax if you sell it. But if you sell the seeds, there's not a tax on the seed. It's only once it sprouts, becomes a plant, that $5 tax is implemented.
So they're not specifying anywhere like seedling as opposed to plant or something.
No. The way I read it is you could have a little tiny seedling, $5. You can have a great big marijuana tree, $5.
Okay. Because that 4 plant limit, I mean, when they say 4 plants, like they don't talk about. I was thinking that there were places in there where there was specifically referring to like seedlings or something as opposed, separate from plants.
No, they just say 4 plants per household for adults over the age of 21. So regardless of how many adults might be in the household. However, if you want to grow more than 4 plants, you can pay $1,200 and get a license. And then you can grow unlimited numbers of plants. You just have to abide by the law, sell it legally, tax the sales to adults only, and sell it according to the rules. Anytime these laws pass, everything isn't covered actually in the legislation. there's an administrative law process where the regulatory agency will come up with regulations, then they will put out a draft, then there will be hearings where there's the part of the law dealing with the seeds right there. If you can read it right now if you want, but or you can listen to me. And these things, you have an administrative law process where the regulatory agency issues the regulations, the draft regulations, and they have a series of hearings, and then they vote on how to implement that with these administrative rules that govern the way the law is implemented. And those administrative rules have a process that can be changed. They can be challenged in court if you don't agree with the interpretation. So all of those haven't been worked out yet, but they will be.
Yeah, because like when obviously, of course, when they say plants, they should be adult female plants, to be in the spirit of the law, because obviously male plants, or a plant that's 2 inches tall isn't going to have the same properties that are.
I agree. Also, who's going to be enforcing this? Is somebody going to come in and say, look, your seedling counts as a plant. You're busted, buddy. Now, I don't know if that's
Wouldn't you hate to have that job to go around knocking on people's doors and say,
I'd like to see your marijuana. There's no public inspection either. You still have your right to privacy, and they have to get a warrant to come into your property and all of that.
Absolutely.
So nothing changes there,
No.
but all these details are yet to be worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. I don't know how they do it in Colorado, where every plant's in front of a camera and it's got a little number on it, and everything.
Yeah, they have that process where they track from seed to sale. It's very expensive and cumbersome. Washington and Colorado's law, they passed. We lost 2 years ago with Measure 80 here in Oregon by a relatively narrow margin, just about 110,000 votes. But we won this time around with Measure 91, and so this law is much, much better than the law in Washington, much better than the law in Colorado, and even better than the one that passed up in Alaska at the same time Measure 91 passed here. So
we should do that to our politicians. From the time they swear in to the time they leave office, they can be in front of a camera, put a little tag on them, follow them wherever they go, make sure they report in all the time.
Okay.
Tell the voters what they're doing and why they're not showing up to make their vote, or why they voted the way they voted.
Okay. Thanks for your call, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, next caller. Welcome to the show. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. And I'm 51, and I never thought I would see the day that marijuana would actually be legal.
Congratulations. We lived to see it. So many of our friends didn't.
That's
yes,
right.
thank you. And you're about my age, so you know what I'm talking about. And never thought I'd see it. But the issue that I have is employers, because my particular employee has always had a zero tolerance for illegal drugs. But now, if it's legal, they're not sure where they're going to go with it. But I don't hear the issue come up very often of what employees' rights are. I don't know.
Employers have a lot of discretion over who they have hire and who they have work for them. Exactly. It's actually possible to say none of your employees can smoke tobacco, even though tobacco's been legal for a long, long time. I think over time, there's some evidence that tobacco smoke increases health costs. I think over time, as studies show that marijuana actually lowers the cost of health care and improves people's health and homeostasis, or the balance of your body's regulatory systems, that it will increase your longevity, as many studies show. Then a lot of the prejudice against cannabis in the workplace will go away. I remember 30 years ago there was a test of nuclear power plant workers, and they showed that the nuclear power plant workers who used marijuana were more productive, had less sick days off, were better workers overall. that study was kind of suppressed. And instead, we've had a lot of misinformation out there about marijuana and its effect in the workplace. But it's up to the employer to establish those rules. There's a lot of issues regarding workplace safety and insurance regulation. So the law itself, Measure 91, which passed here, says that didn't address the workplace issue and says that the workplace safety standards are not adjusted. But just this past week in Washington, D.C., a council member of the Washington, D.C. City Council introduced a new law there that says that employers cannot drug test employees before they've been hired. So that's a big change. And if that's very successful in Washington, D.C., I'm hopeful that someday we may see the Oregon legislature start to do something like that here. You know, it really comes down to our ability to go in and influence the legislative process. That means going to Salem, writing our state Congress people. I remember when I first moved here back in the early to mid 1980s, I went down to Salem and there was some things up on the board, and I stood up and said, you know, I don't like that law and that proposal. So the congressman went over and he erased it and took it out of the law. Well, you know, it's as simple as that. You know, you need to be there to influence the process. And if you're not there, bad things can happen. And so that's what it comes down to.
And our politicians do what they can to discourage you from even finding interest and getting involved.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
Because they know that if you don't get involved and if you don't pay attention, then they will get elected. Because if they realize that you are paying attention, you're liable to find out what scum they are, and they'll have to find another type of work to be involved in.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I think the big thing was the tax, and I don't know, you know, more people work that pay taxes that want to smoke marijuana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure other people pay taxes too, but the workforce is you know, a lot larger, unless everybody is self-employed or on unemployment and paying taxes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be funny about it, but
sure.
And Paul, you mentioned that, you know, an employer can say, well, no smoking tobacco. And as a matter of fact, there are a handful of corporations and small businesses that if you smoke tobacco, they will let you go because they don't want to deal with any possible health care that's going to come their way as far as out-of-pocket expenditures for you as an employee down the road. So
I hear you. I just hope we can change that issue.
Yeah. I agree. And so let's write our state representatives, state senators, and tell them we need to change that.
Yeah.
We do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a question to the audience. Go right ahead, John.
I just want to accentuate the point that you just made with this gentleman. And if you're still listening out there, I hope you'll listen to this. A case in point. Our city council in Forest Grove decided that it was expedient to tax the medical marijuana community in the city of Forest Grove. We thought that was insane. And it only took 4 people to go there and say, hey, what's wrong with you guys? And they said, oops, we're sorry. And like you said, they took that out. So if we had not been there, we would have been screwed.
Yeah.
4 people.
We just have to participate. And if we don't, someone else will in our stead.
We're dying off.
You to get involved in the political process. You know, to paraphrase the late, great Timothy Leary, we need to tune in, and take over.
There you
go. I said that once earlier in this show.
There you go.
Okay, have we got another phone call? Okay, welcome to the show, caller.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hey, Paul. So now that we've legalized, are we going to make the medical marijuana card a little bit laxer to get a medical marijuana card for people that need one?
I hope so. I think the cost is just outrageous. You can go to Hawaii, the cost is $25 a year. Wow. Go to Nevada, it's $15 a year and $5, not Nevada, but Montana, $5 to renew it.
Cool.
The fee here in Oregon is way too high. I think that, you know, medical marijuana is the aspirin of this century, that it's the miracle drug that now that we've legalized it, we can really study its benefits and get the word out about how it helps increase longevity and how it's actually good for you. And so
we just need more research that people can rely on so that we can go down that road more successfully.
Yeah.
It's happening in Colorado, and as you said earlier, outside of the country. It's about time we start doing it here. Now, how many states are going to have it on the ballot next year?
It's hard to say. I know Nevada has turned in signatures for legalization. It'll go before their legislature next month. They can either pass it or they can put it up for a vote in 2016. That's for full legalization. Florida will probably vote on medical marijuana again in 2016. The state of California will probably vote on legalization. But it really, again, comes down to participating in the political process.
And don't we have a couple of states that are growing it for the hemp industry?
Yes, a couple. What was that, sir?
What about giving more, say, you know, like not diseases, but reasons for getting a medical marijuana card? Like, I have sleep apnea, and I take Ambien every night for 5 years.
Oh wow!
You know, and I'd like to get off of that and try to get into the smoking marijuana or taking a marijuana goodie and to be able to go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I think that once
there's no
we
opening for
remove the stigma associated with marijuana, once we educate doctors to its benefits in so many different conditions, that its use will be a lot more widely recommended. You know, we're about out of time, though. Thanks for your phone call.
Okay, all right.
Well, we've done it again. Another good hour. You know, this is probably our last live show of the year. I've got to go off to Uruguay. If you want to see more about that, go to expocannabis.uy. That's expocannabis.uy. I'll be talking about hemp energy and hemp fiber and hemp paper down there, along with Andrea Herman, who's been a guest on this show.
You're spending Christmas down there with all your
No,
party
I'm coming back
friends
to my
and
mom's for Christmas.
Oh,
but
okay.
listen, we're going to go out on another song with Mr. John Cornette.
We love
Thanks
you, John.
for watching, folks. We will have a tape show, even if we don't have a live one. Tune in and help us restore hemp. Good night.